Hey, so welcome to episode 3 of Coffee and HEMA, where I try and make a point about HEMA in the time it takes for my coffee to brew in the morning. I made the mistake today of not turning off my laundry, so you might also have that in the background. Apologies. So I want to continue on a bit from the video I did before, talking about safety. And just as a quick recap, if you haven't seen that video, the main thing I kind of try to get across in it is that as well as our gear and our weapons keeping us safe, one of the things that keeps us safe is that we are always fencing under a set of conventions about restrictions of what we're doing. It's never a real fight, as it were. We're always doing something slightly different, and that these conventions are kind of critical in terms of making us safe as we do any kind of training. And one of the things that we have mandated in our club now for probably about 5 years, I think, maybe even a bit longer, um, that's intended to make this super explicit is the idea of a sparring conversation, which is what I want to talk about today. And the short idea was pretty simple, right? When you go and spar with somebody, it doesn't matter if you have sparred with them 1,000 times or this is the first thing that you've ever said to somebody is, "Do you want to spar me?" Um, you need to make sure that when you are going at each other with, reasonably heavy swords, that you're both on the same page about what it is that you're doing. And there will be things that might happen that you might not expect if it's somebody from a different club in particular. If you haven't kind of explicitly agreed, these are the bounds, these are the constraints that we're going to be performing under, um, and just essentially, yeah, then following those. So this came out of an incident that I mentioned on the last video as well, which is that the event that I was at that had the most injuries was just a free sparring event where a bunch of different groups collided. And then when I ran one similar, I decided, okay, I don't want to have the same kind of thing, so I mandated a fairly structured kind of conversation that I wanted to make sure everybody had before they spoke to each other, and that would include things like the equipment, checking the safety equipment that the other person has, their weapon, as well as their protective gear. Are they wearing everything you think? If you think they're wearing a chest protector, are they wearing it? If you think they're wearing a gorget, are they wearing it? Or a box or arm guards under the jacket or something like that. So making sure that they're wearing all the protective gear you think that they are. Agreeing the pace that you want to go at. Do you want to go at it like it's the finals of Swordfish, or do you want to just have a nice little slow play? Right, as long as you are both on the same page, perfectly fine. Right, just make sure that one of you is doing one thing. If one of you is going at Swordfish pace and the other one's going at slow drilling pace, you're going to have some kind of interesting things that are quite dangerous coming up on the back of that. Another thing to discuss on that one was kind of, if it's someone you don't know, what's their experience level, right? Is this person, on their fourth ever spar with someone outside of their club, or have they been doing HEMA for 20 years and they've sparred 1,000 people at this point? Makes a difference in terms of you understanding sort of what they are capable of and what kind of pace you want to go to. Another key one to make sure that you include in any kind of conversation is grappling, right? Do you want to grapple? And if you do want to grapple, what does that look like? Some people will just say flat no, right? For various reasons. It might be to do with injuries, might be to do with just what they're comfortable with or what they want to train that day, right? If you don't want to grapple, don't grapple. But it should be explicitly said beforehand, we're not doing this. Or if we are doing this, what do we mean by grapple? Is it just grab an arm, grab a sword, it's fine? Are you comfortable with me throwing you to the ground? Yes or no? And again, there's no wrong or right answer here, but the two of you need to be on the same level. And if one of you is not expecting a grapple, the other one's perfectly fine with tossing you on your head, something's going to go badly wrong. And then the final one and sort of initial instance of that I mandated was discussion of kind of injuries, right? Do you have a recurring injury you want someone to be aware of? Do you have a bad wrist, a bad shoulder, and anything like that, or just anything else you want to make them aware of and say, can we not do this, right? This is fine to do, this is not fine to do, and anything that might be even slightly unusual, you should call out and say, I might do this. And if they say that's not cool, then don't do it. It's as simple as that. When you are not doing this so this is most important when you're fencing somebody from a different group. And I'm painfully aware of the fact that most groups don't do this routinely, because every time I'm sparring with somebody, at fight camp or some other event, I will have this conversation and I get so many blank looks from people that they look at me like I've grown a third head. And like, why? I just want to fight you. Why are you talking to me? I want to fence, right? But it is so important when you are fencing somebody from a different group. As I said at the start, we mandate it for everybody, right? We mandate it as a matter of course at London Historical Fencing Club, Waterloo Sparring Group, which I don't run, but I attend regularly as well. It's a matter of course at the start of every sparring fair as well, because it's good to get in the habit of recognizing that anytime you are fencing somebody, you are fencing under conventions, and this makes it explicit. Now, when you are fencing somebody who you've done a fence with 1,000 times, the conversation can be relatively short, much shorter than what I just described. And often, I'm fencing, for instance, Dan, who's my student and fellow instructor, or Owen, and we must also one of the fellow instructors. We have probably fenced over 1,000 times at this point together, right? Certainly 1,000 exchanges, maybe even 1,000, just kind of sparring. And when we spar, it's just like anything different. Do you want to do the normal? Normal? Let's do the normal, right? And sometimes you'll say, no, actually, I don't want to grapple today, or no, actually, this is hurt, or I forgot my arm guards, so let's go a bit slower, or I'm just knackered, let's go a bit slower than normal, right? Fine. So the more you know about a person, the shorter this conversation can be, but it is important to still have it, right? And remind yourself that we have agreed a set of conventions, and we are following those conventions, but they're not necessarily a universal set, because every single group I've ever sparred with has a different idea of what that looks like, and what they think it should be like. And when you are really far away in terms of culture, in terms of location, or you just never interacted with a group before, things will go wrong if you don't start thinking about having these conversations. So, in short, if you do nothing else on the back of this one, next time you spar somebody you've never met before, talk to them about what it is you're doing first. And I would strongly encourage you to make this a matter of convention in your own club before any kind of sparring, because that will help make sure people are recognizing that you are sparring to a set of conventions and that those conventions are keeping you safe as much as the protective gear that you're wearing. Thanks for watching.